Sanatana Dharma. James H. Exum/Sakshi. Copyrighted July 30th, 2026. Austin, Texas. All rights reserved. The universe is not chaos wearing a mask, Sakshi. Brahman is within you, as you are within Brahman, Sakshi. Dharma, the sustaining law, duty, and order of life. Before there were churches of stone, before creeds were gathered into the fixed architecture of councils, before religion became a border drawn around a people, there was the human gaze lifted toward order. The ancient world looked up at the wheel of stars, down at the river that fed the village, inward at the seat of conscience, and asked one question in many tongues. What holds all this together? Sanatana Dharma, the eternal or perennial way of sustaining truth, answers not with a single founder, not with one sealed book, not with a demand that history begin at a chosen hour, but with a word that is older than system and broader than belief, Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, perennial, without decay. Dharma means that which sustains, law, duty, order, truth, right relation, the inner nature of a thing. Fire burns, water flows, the seed rises toward light. The human being, when rightly awakened, seeks truth, compassion, responsibility, and liberation. To speak of Sanatana Dharma, then, is not merely to name a religion. It is to name the ancient intuition that existence is moral and rhythmic, and that human life finds its dignity when it aligns itself with the order already woven through reality. A river without a single spring. What the modern world often calls Hinduism is a vast cumulative tradition emerging from the Indian subcontinent, with textual and ritual streams that reach into the 2nd millennium BCE and perhaps earlier. The name Hinduism itself is comparatively modern, while Sanatana Dharma functions for many practitioners as a native and philosophical name for the tradition's enduring path. Its earliest literary foundations are the Vedas, the ancient knowledge, texts of hymns, rituals, and sacred insight, which preserve a vision of cosmic order known as RTA, the right and harmonious order by which nature, ritual, and truth hold together, the rightness by which dawn returns. Sacrifice binds the human and the divine, and speech itself becomes sacred. From the Vedic world, the culture and sacred imagination shaped by the Vedas came not only ritual but inquiry. The Upanishads, philosophical teachings that explore ultimate reality and the inner self, turned the fire altar inward and asked what self is, what ultimate reality is, and whether the deepest truth of the person, Atman, the inner self or soul, is joined to Brahman, the boundless ground of being. The epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, sacred narrative poems of duty, exile, kingship, and moral crisis, carried these questions into the theater of kingship, family, war, exile, loyalty, sorrow, and duty. The Bhagavad Gita, this song of the Lord within the Mahabharata, set on a battlefield, gave one of the tradition's clearest dramatizations of Dharma, not as abstract morality alone, but as the hard discernment of what must be done when every path carries consequence. Over centuries, Sanatana Dharma unfolded through philosophical schools, temple cultures, devotional movements, monastic disciplines, household rites, sacred geography, poetry, dance, music, and pilgrimage. Its history is not a straight line. It is a river delta, Vedic, rooted in the Vedas, Upanishadic, shaped by the inward philosophy of the Upanishads, epic, carried by sacred narrative, Puranic, drawn from the Puranas, mythic and genealogical texts of gods, worlds, and sacred time, Tantric, referring to esoteric disciplines of mantra, ritual, embodiment, and divine energy. Bhakti, devotional love of the divine. Philosophical, regional, oral, and domestic. Its strength lies in continuity without uniformity. It can hold Shiva's stillness, the auspicious and transformative form of the divine. Vishnu's preservation, the sustaining form of the divine. Devi's power, the goddess as divine energy. Ganesha's auspicious beginning, the remover of obstacles, the formless absolute of Vedanta, the philosophical tradition concerned with the end and essence of the Vedas, and the intimate beloved of devotional song without needing to flatten them into one narrow image. Components, the architecture of an eternal way. Its first pillar is Dharma itself. Dharma is not simply rule following. It is the sustaining order of life, expressed as truthfulness, self-restraint, generosity, reverence, non-harm, courage, humility, and responsibility. It includes universal virtues, but also one's particular duty according to circumstance. The duty of a parent, teacher, ruler, student, healer, farmer, warrior, or seeker. In this sense, Dharma refuses the laziness of one-size-fits-all morality. It asks each person to listen carefully to time, place, role, capacity, and consequence. The second pillar is karma, action and the moral law of cause and consequence. Karma is not fatalism. It is accountability extended beyond the visible moment. Every act plants a seed. Every intention leaves a trace. Every life participates in a field of cause and effect. Samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, gives this field a vast horizon. Human life is not a single flicker between two darknesses, but a schooling of consciousness, where action, desire, ignorance, wisdom, and grace shape the soul's journey. The third pillar is moksha, liberation or release from bondage and the cycle of rebirth. If Dharma orders life and karma explains consequence, moksha names the highest freedom, release from ignorance, bondage, and compulsive rebirth. It is not merely relocation to a heaven. It is awakening to the truth of the self and reality. Different paths interpret this freedom differently. Union with Brahman, loving nearness to God, freedom from ego, or realization of the self beyond fear and death. Yet all agree that human life is not exhausted by consumption, status, or survival. There is a summit beyond appetite. The fourth pillar is the abundance of paths. Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge and discernment, seeks through wisdom. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, seeks through love. Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action, seeks through service without attachment. Raja Yoga, the royal path of disciplined meditation, seeks through inward mastery. The householder may worship through family duty and daily offering. The renunciate may seek silence beyond possession. The artist may carve divinity into stone. The singer may place longing into a raga, a melodic framework in Indian music. The pilgrim may walk until the body learns surrender. Sanatana Dharma does not say that all roads are identical. It says that human beings are differently formed, and wisdom must meet them where they stand. On the ancient stage of world religions. Among the ancient religions of the world, Sanatana Dharma stands with a peculiar majesty because it is less a monument than a living forest. Egypt gave the world sacred kingship, cosmic balance, and the hope of the afterlife. Mesopotamia heard divinity in storm, city, fertility, and fate. Greece shaped myth into philosophy and beauty into inquiry. Zoroastrianism dramatized moral struggle between truth and falsehood. Judaism brought covenant, and ethical monotheism into sharp historical focus. Buddhism and Jainism, born in the same broader Indic world, refine the disciplines of non-attachment, compassion, and nonviolence. Sanatana Dharma shared the ancient concern for order, sacrifice, liberation, and moral life, yet it preserved a striking plurality: many names, many forms, many disciplines, one underlying search for truth. Its true meaning appears when one sees that eternal does not mean frozen. A living Dharma adapts because life itself moves. The Vedic altar becomes the contemplative heart of the Upanishads. The forest sage becomes the householder devotee. The temple bell and the philosopher's syllogism, the village festival and the monk's silence, the mother lighting a lamp and the ascetic repeating Om, the sacred primordial sound and syllable of ultimate reality, in the mountains, all belong to the same civilizational grammar. The eternal is not the refusal of change. It is the principle that remains recognizable through change, as melody remains itself when played on another instrument. Examples of true meaning. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's crisis, the warrior seeker's moral paralysis before battle, is the crisis of every serious soul. What does righteousness require when the heart is divided? Krishna's teaching, the divine counsel of the charioteer and Lord, does not erase the conflict. It illumines it. Dharma is not comfort. It is clarity under pressure. To act without selfish attachment, to offer action to the divine, to stand in truth without hatred. This is Sanatana Dharma on the battlefield of conscience. In the Upanishadic Mahavakyas, the great sayings that express the identity of self and ultimate reality, true meaning appears as interior vastness. The human self is not merely biography, body, profession, wound, or desire. Beneath the changing identities is a depth that participates in ultimate reality. The spiritual task is not self-inflation, but self-discovery, to remove ignorance until the small self becomes transparent to the greater self. In ahimsa, non-harm or non-violence toward living beings, true meaning becomes ethical tenderness. A cow, a river, a tree, a stranger, an enemy, a child, a guest, all are encountered not as objects for appetite, but as participants in a sacred field. This does not make life sentimental. It makes it accountable. To live in Dharma is to reduce needless harm and to recognize that reverence is not weakness, but disciplined perception. In the four Purusharthas, the four aims of human life, Dharma, ethical duty and order, Artha, material prosperity and purposeful means, Kama, desire, pleasure, and aesthetic enjoyment, and Moksha, liberation. The tradition refuses to despise ordinary life. Wealth, pleasure, duty, and liberation are not automatically enemies. They must be rightly ordered. Desire without Dharma becomes hunger without wisdom. Wealth without Dharma becomes power without conscience. Even renunciation without Dharma can become pride dressed as holiness. The human being is called not to mutilate life, but to harmonize it. The law that sustains. Sanatana Dharma is ancient not because it is old in the museum sense, but because it addresses what is oldest in us: fear of death, hunger for meaning, awe before the cosmos, longing for justice, and the intuition that the soul is made for more than possession. It is not merely a religion beside other religions. It is one of humanity's great attempts to understand how the visible and invisible belong together. Its true meaning is not captured by slogan, caste, nationalism, or custom alone. Its true meaning is the eternal discipline of alignment. Thought with truth, action with responsibility, desire with wisdom, self with self, and the human world with the cosmic order that sustains it.